Hi, I'm Richard from Battleboards and welcome to the bunker. Today we're going to be looking at how I make some terrain in more detail. Specifically we're looking at World War II Italy. This is a board that has been designed for bolt action, and I'll take you through some of the processes that I did to make the board more interesting. Okay, before designing the board, it's important that you have a plan of how the board's going to look. So I produced a 3D model of how the actual board was going to look, including the building structures, so I could work out the actual flow of troop movement through the board, and more importantly the scale of which the buildings needed to be. Once I'd come up with a design, this was then produced into a flat design and effectively CAD'd up, so you have all the walls and the floors, which then can be cut out of the plastic sheeting to form the actual building shapes that you want. Also, you'll notice from the design that I didn't include any damage to the building structure. That came afterwards, whilst the construction was going on. So you can actually control how the damage flows from floor to floor, which was quite important, I felt, to get the overall look and feel. Each one of the buildings comes apart and is very robust, so that it won't interfere with gameplay. I mean, it's important to remember that we're not creating dioramas. Dioramas are completely different to wargaming tables. Wargaming tables need to have people touching them and moving through them, and so pieces can't be too delicate, otherwise you know, they'll just fall apart in the middle of gameplay, which is not ideal at all. So although they're very intricate and they look very highly detailed, the key point is to make them robust, so they can last several games without, you know, having bits falling off every time you pick up a building. So once the design was started and completed, you can then cut out each of the sections of paper, and I spray mounted them onto the actual plastic sheeting bits. Okay, here's some sections that I've cut out already of buildings. A little roof section. Now, because this was cut from any sort of plastic sheeting that you can find, and then it has no texture, so the texture was the important part of the project. I wanted to create buildings that were not only custom made, but they also had highly detailed designs on them, with block work showing through and things like that. So I opted for a completely different build style, and the way I did that was using silicone rubber molds from a master. So the masters were made of the wall sections without any doors or windows, and that way I could place any shaped wall into the mould and then pour resin into that mould, and then that would create a wall with the sort of textured detail already on one side, and then the inside of the building could then be textured by adding various resins and things to create the texture on the inside. I also made some moulds of windows and doors, so I could change the style of the building and the style of the windows for each building, and choose if I wanted to put the doors on the inside or the outside. So basically making up a system that was completely customizable to create the actual building structures themselves. I also did the same with the roof tiles, made a large section so I could actually cast the roof tiles, and again in a full sheet without any damage, and then later on I made damage into the roofs for each building. Okay, so now we'll have a look at the actual board and have a look in more detail and see how I used these techniques throughout the board, and how I bonded the whole board together from the design. Okay, so here's a quick overview of what the board looks like so far. This is working in progress. So this is the basic structures of the main village put together. You can see that it's highly detailed already. It's sort of waiting for its paint finishes now, but I thought you'd be quite interested to see what it looks like in its raw state, and then you can see how the thing gets finished off later on. So these are the buildings. So each level comes off You can see the separate doors and windows or shutters that I put in, and you can see that each floor gets removed. This floor's not been completed yet, so that shows you how the buildings go together. Other buildings have single roof sections that lift off, so troop placement can be placed in. Whole floors come away, so you can see some of the detailing that I've put in to the inside of the rooms, which we'll finish off later on. Okay, this is a closer look at the tower. You can see the tower has an opening at the back, so figures can be placed in from the back of the tower, and there's also a removable top, so figures can be placed in the top of the tower and be in a sitting duck position for any marksman who wants to try and take them out. We have a road that runs down to what will be the bridge section, which will be over here, which we'll pick up on later. And this is the rock work, which has had its first coat of resin bonding to bond the pieces of rock work together, ready for painting. And so we'll start painting that today, so you can see how it looks when it's got some paint on it. Okay, that's the first look at the Italian board. We'll catch up on the progresses of the board, how it progresses through the different stages. The next stage is I want to paint up the two boards that you've just seen before continuing on to the rest of the boards. The whole board will be 4 foot by 4 foot with a river section running along the front of it with a bridge, which will be interesting to see how the bridge comes out. So I hope you like this first part, and we'll catch up with you soon.